Hi, this is Stephen with Fairs Management Interactive, and today we're going to talk about maxing out your booth space in a hall. Well, one of the first things we want to do is get a good idea of how big our hall is, and so with the Fairs MI program, on the lower right we always have a measure tool. And I just opened it up and I have two crosshairs, and I'm going to pull one in the lower left hand corner of our main area, and I'm going to pull the next crosshair up to the upper right hand corner of the main area. And as you can see in our X direction, it says it's 291 feet. And in our Y direction, it says it's 106 feet. Now, the way the Fairs MI measuring tool works, you don't have to line things up exactly, because it will give you that absolute horizontal and that absolute vertical measurement. And then if you are measuring on an angle, it will allow you to measure that angle or radial measurement. So back to maxing out booths, we've got 290 feet. Now that means if we have 10 by 10 booths and a 10-foot aisle, that's easy math because that is 30 feet per aisle. With 290 feet, that would be 9 aisles plus 20 feet, which would allow you at the end of the row an aisle and then what we call an end perimeter booth line. So let's try that out with our booth pod control, which automatically numbers your booths and automatically lays them out with the aisles and the booths in the aisle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say the number of booths in a row. We're going to make it simple and just say 3 so we don't have a lot. And the number of aisles we're going to create is 9. And right now we're maxing out based on a vertical booth layout. So we've got the layout orientation set like that. And this is just for the purpose of getting a good idea of the horizontal space. So I click New, and you can see that we do have what we predicted we'd have in maxing out those booths. Now that end cap we can recreate real quick right now. The first thing we need to always do is in our lower left hand corner is our single booth move. This allows us to move individual booths. We normally have it unchecked when we're doing exhibitor sales so we don't accidentally nudge a booth. Now if I click on this one booth and then hit New 3 times real quick, I can drag these over and really get a feel for how we might set up that max layout. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and delete this. We've got a good idea of what that the vertical layout with the horizontal line would do. So now looking at the 106 foot, now if we pull this crosshair down to the very end to just see the overall vertical length we have, now we see it's 177 feet. Now that would say 17 booths in a row plus the 7 foot at the end. But of course we want space at each end. So that means that we've got actually 17 feet in 2 end aisles to deal with. So let's go ahead and we're going to, this time we're going to say number of booths in a row, and we're going to say 16. And we're going to say number of aisles. Let's just say 1, just to keep it simple. And this allows you to do things quickly. We're going to hit New. Now as we drag our pod into place, you can see that we have those 2 anticipated aisles at each end. Now just by shifting the booths upward to the perimeters and downward to the perimeters, we can create those perimeter aisles. And we'll show you more in other lessons on how to extend the line of booths around those perimeters. Now let's go ahead and delete this example. So there is a method we can use that we may call brute force, and some people prefer this method, and that would be to go ahead and make 16 boosts in a row and make 9 aisles and hit new and drag these into place, and then just start deleting boosts in the areas we don't need them. And this takes a little more time, but really in 3 or 4 minutes you've cut out the boosts that are outside your wall lines and you're done. And as you can see, the boosts are already automatically numbered across the hall for you. Now, one thing I should mention, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Sometimes we may have another hall that has boosts that are numbered with a 100 system. And so we may want to start this system as a 1100 system or a 900 system or wherever the last hall left off. But let's go ahead and we're going to make this 1100 down in our starting boost number on the left here. And this starts out our boost numbering, and we hit new. So now if we're going from hall to hall, we can actually start where we left off in our aisle numbering codes and keep a running consistent numbering from hall to hall. Now, there is another way we can do this. Let's take our measuring tool again, and I'm going to measure the width of this little minor area here. And it says that it's 115 feet wide. So we know that that gives us, at 30, would give us approximately 4 aisles and something left over. So what we're going to do is, again, we can experiment very quickly. We're going to go ahead and make 16 boosts in a row, and we're going to make just 9 aisles. I'm sorry, we're going to make just 4 aisles, and we're going to hit new. Here we're looking exactly right for our 10-foot aisles. So now you can see we have a 14 aisle is our last aisle that begins in that little alcove. So what we can do now is we're going to remeasure this space for length where we don't include that ramp. You can see we've got 83 feet for our vertical. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say 6 boosts in a row. We're going to go ahead and say number of aisles is going to be will be 12 less the 4 we put in. And now we're going to make this number start. Let's look over and see where we want that number start. We want it to be, looks like 1518. So when we drop in our new pod, now the numbering will be consistent across the hall, with the starting number of the new pod beginning at the row elevation that corresponds with the other boosts across from it. And again, after placing and aligning our second pod, we create some new copies of boosts to create our perimeter aisle across from the last aisle in the pod. We'll go back through and renumber them accordingly with our editor with a single boost control. So that finishes up part one of maxing out a hall with the Fares Management Interactive Tools. Part two will go into making comparisons between different aisle sizes and different booth sizes in order to achieve a certain booth count that's desired. Please feel free to email me at solutions@faresmi.net, and I will try to answer all your questions. And if you have a request for a video demonstration of one of the skills or one of the techniques, I'll be happy to put one together and put it up online. Thanks so much.